At the family reunion I organized, each person received a personalized t-shirt. Mine expressed the deepest sense of letdown. I chose silence instead. With a bittersweet smile, I pulled out a stack of papers, ripped them apart, and walked away. After an hour, they finally confronted the aftermath of my actions, and the calls began pouring in without pause. It's hard to admit, but deep down, I sensed the storm brewing long before it hit. It struck me with an intensity that felt like a sudden jolt to my very core. But truthfully, it felt as though I had finally uncovered the last fragment of a puzzle I had been desperately trying to ignore. I stood there, clutching the t-shirt, my gaze fixed on the bold black letters, as if they were etched into my very soul. Profound letdown, beautiful. My sister Jessica was already laughing, her joy a bright light amidst the shadows of our past. It's merely a jest, Luke. My brother Brandon sat across the table, a casual shrug escaping him as he held a beer in one hand. Let's go, my friend. One might find a certain irony in the situation, don't you think? My family, initially hushed. Then my mom released a soft, unexpected laugh, reminiscent of a moment when humor breaks through the heaviness of a serious gathering. My dad shook his head, a smile on his face, as if I had just stumbled on a familiar path. I gave a single, silent nod. Once again there was a gentle pause. Understood. Humorous. I carefully folded the shirt, placing it gently on the edge of my plate, a quiet moment of reflection amidst the chaos. No one noticed my hand's slight tremor, or if they did, they didn't care. I find myself at a loss for what I truly anticipated. I covered all the expenses for this reunion, including the venue, food, and travel. I went as far as to buy the matching shirts. That's the heart of it, isn't it? My card was used to print that label. The punchline, heartfelt. I had poured my heart into planning this weekend for months. They booked the old lakeside house they once cherished, clinging to the hope that perhaps the echoes of the past would bring a gentle balm to their wounds. Perhaps I could rediscover a sense of belonging once more. Instead, I received a tangible reminder of my belonging within the family. What was the most painful aspect? I felt a profound emptiness. I was filled with an overwhelming sense of exhaustion, exhausted in a way that seeps deep into your very essence, weighing you down like an unyielding burden. I slowly pushed back my chair, feeling the weight of unspoken words and lingering pain in the air around me. Grimweek grinned. I'll return shortly. I ascended the stairs to the guest room, carrying the weight of unspoken feelings. This space is mine as I hold the lease for the entire property, and unzipped my bag. The folder sat in its familiar spot, a silent reminder of moments that lingered in the shadows of my heart. Dense, sharp, burdened, just like the weight I carried. I chose to print the papers on special parchment, a material that carried a weight of meaning in my hands, a piece of solace they could hold on to. I had even thought about bringing champagne to celebrate the momentous news. Instead, I stepped back into the dining room, pausing just behind the chair that awaited me, a silent witness to the weight of my unspoken feelings. No one raised their gaze. Lost in the moment, they captured smiles and laughter in their new shirts, oblivious to the deeper currents swirling around them. Just when it was needed most, I opened the folder, revealing the weight of memories it held within. I gently pulled the papers from their hidden place. In silence, I felt the weight of my emotions as I started to rip them apart. Gradually, intentionally, each page turn was deliberate. Jessica was the first to turn. Hold on, what is that? Brandon's brow knitted in deep contemplation. Hey, is that a formal agreement? I remained silent. My dad lingered in the middle, caught between two worlds. Luke? I placed the frayed papers gently before my untouched plate. Morsky smiled once more, with a deeper intensity this time. I hope those shirts keep you warm in the cold. In that moment I stepped away. Silence speaks volumes. Close the doors gently. There was only the sound of footsteps on the aged wooden floor, the familiar creak of the screen door closing behind me, and the soothing coolness of the night air enveloping my skin like a gentle embrace. I left without my jacket. I never truly required it. I had just reached the car when the first call pierced through the silence. Then another moment followed. Then 3 additional ones. It felt as though a barrier was beginning to crumble. I remained silent. I am not done yet. Allow them to witness the remnants of what I once shattered. Allow them to experience it fully. I sat in my car for an extended period, struggling with the burden of my thoughts until I finally managed to turn on the ignition. My gaze lingers on my hands gripping the wheel, lost in a sea of thoughts. Yet beneath the surface, a storm brews. Yet there remains an unsettling tranquility. It seemed as though my body was still in a state of shock, struggling to grasp the magnitude of the events that had just transpired. They shared a moment of laughter. That moment replayed endlessly in my mind. My mother, my brothers and sisters, and even my father were present in that moment, as if it were all so innocent. To them, labeling me their greatest disappointment felt like just another endearing family trait. This was in addition to Jessica's subtle sarcasm in her holiday cards and Brandon's playful remarks about my loneliness. Yet, it carried a weight far beyond mere innocence. It had been a familiar ache all along. I can pinpoint the moment it all began. Back when I was just 9 years old. That was the year when Brandon shattered the neighbor's window with a baseball, and I found myself facing the consequences for not intervening. Jessica concealed the truth about her test, and I found myself on the receiving end of a heartfelt lecture about the weight of my influence. In that house, it felt as though every misstep bore my mark, a haunting reminder of my presence, even if I was absent from the space. At 12, I can still feel the sting of receiving a C in math. This was my first experience. Tears streamed down my face. The weight on my heart was not the grade, but the anticipation of the inevitable. At the dinner table, the air was heavy with biting remarks, a mother's heavy sigh filled with unspoken pain, and a father's silence echoing his unfulfilled hopes. In the midst of struggle, Brandon could falter through an entire semester, yet still find a way to receive extra spending money, a small consolation for his efforts. At 17, I pleaded with them to support me in securing a modest student loan. There was not a single dollar, just a mark on the page. They turned me away. I expressed that I had to embrace accountability. By that time, Brandon had already shattered the remnants of 2 cars. Jessica had taken a bold step, leaving everything behind to pursue her passion for photography in Europe, a journey made possible by their unwavering support. Yet, I had to embrace the lessons of accountability. I found myself working through the quiet hours of the night, rested for merely 4 hours each day. It created a world from the ashes of despair. Initially a tech service, it evolved into a subscription platform, discovered the art of coding, the skill of pitching, and the resilience to face rejection and continue onward. I never sought anything extravagant. A small acknowledgement would have meant a lot. Perhaps we should express our pride in you. Instead, I found myself the subject of endless laughter. I was the one who stood out from the crowd. The man who consistently arrived late to Thanksgiving was likely lost in the depths of his world, immersed in lines of code in a dimly lit basement. When I received my first 6-figure investment, I kept it to myself. After I finally paid off my student debt in a single moment, I chose to keep it to myself. When my company soared to unexpected heights, I found myself feeling utterly alone. It seemed that sharing my truth would only lead to it being distorted, leaving me feeling even more vulnerable, transform it into a different punchline, or even worse, claim it as their own. I chose to remain silent, yet I observed. I observed Jessica throwing lavish parties in apartments that seemed beyond her means, a stark contrast to the reality of her paycheck. Observed Brandon sharing enigmatic captions on Instagram that touch on the struggles of mental well-being. 2 days later, Brandon reached out to me requesting money. I witnessed my parents grapple with the weight of their mortgage, yet they still found a way to indulge in anniversary cruises. And I began to offer my support, silently, a gift from the shadows, unseen yet deeply felt. A transfer that leaves no trace behind. Even in the face of all that has happened, my heart still yearned to hold on to the idea of family. I believed that if I poured enough of myself into them, they would eventually recognize my existence. That dream was irrevocably broken last Christmas. I extended an invitation to bring everyone together at a ski lodge I had reserved, hoping to create a space for connection and warmth. My mom advised me to be frugal, yet she shared a post celebrating how Jessica gifted them a holiday funded by the family. In that moment, I made my choice. I decided to stop hiding in the shadows. The gathering I'd just departed from, that moment was meant to be my unveiling. It was an authentic experience. I thought everything was perfectly arranged. A heartfelt letter granting my parents the gift of early retirement, their burdens lifted away. A heartfelt commitment to secure a home for Jessica and her children. A fresh beginning in a more nurturing school district. The fund aims to alleviate Brandon's debt burden. Additionally, there's the possibility of a job referral, should he ever feel the need to begin anew. Every document bore the weight of its significance, signed and sealed, crafted on rich linen paper that felt substantial in hand. I chose navy blue folders, carefully aligning them with the table decor, as if each detail held a deeper significance. That's the extent of my journey. I longed for it to be exquisite, unforgettable. I envisioned the expression that would wash over my mother's face as she unfolded the letter. The tears flowed freely. She felt a profound sense of pride, the gradual awakening to the truth that the son she once viewed as lost had created something monumental, offering them both a precious opportunity for renewal. I envisioned my father rising, lost for words, grasping my hand with a trembling touch. I imagined Jessica saying, "I misjudged you." Brandon exclaimed, "Wow, man." I was completely unaware. I envisioned countless possibilities. What I received was a mere jest, emblazoned on a t-shirt. I can sense the thought swirling in your mind. Perhaps their intentions were not as harsh as they seemed. Perhaps it was merely a misguided attempt at levity. Perhaps their response would have been different had I shared my truth with them from the beginning. In reality, they already knew. Deep down, there was an unshakable awareness. They noticed the vehicle I was behind the wheel of. The clothes I wore adorned my body. The responses I received when I spoke my company's name were deeply moving. My mom once inquired about my financial well-being. Yet, in that deliberate, practiced manner people adopt when seeking validation while striving to mask their awe, it felt as though they were indifferent to the pain that lingered, leaving a void that echoed with unspoken sorrow. Or worse, they truly cared, and they loathed the reflection it cast upon their souls, and so they found a moment of laughter. It felt simpler for them to confine me to their expectations of disappointment, rather than confront the possibility that they had misjudged me. Now they were about to uncover the secrets hidden within those papers, and not only them. Every single person, all who listened to their words, felt the weight of their sorrow for dear Luke. Everyone saw me as a lost soul, wandering aimlessly from one disheartening endeavor to the next. They were about to uncover the reality that lay hidden beneath the surface, yet, before the light could break through, the shadows deepened. I was completely unaware of the messages that awaited me, the ones that were already on their way. They were woven into a web of deceit. The narrative they were weaving before I had the chance to speak my truth. What followed was profound. Before I could even return to the city, the tale began to weave its way through the air, touching hearts and stirring emotions. Initially, it was a call from a friend I hadn't connected with in what felt like ages. "Hey, I just saw something unusual that your sister shared. I heard you experienced a moment of deep vulnerability at the family reunion. All is well." She said. I collapsed. That was her word, not mine. I opened Facebook, and in that moment, everything changed. A snapshot of the table from that poignant evening. The shirts lay neatly in place, each a quiet keeper of untold stories. Wine glasses shimmered with fullness, and at the center stood a cake, proud, untouched, waiting, accompanied by a poignant caption that conveyed deep feelings. For some, the weight of familial bonds can feel unbearable. Your love remains in our hearts. Even in moments of self-doubt, the individual lacks any identifying characteristics, no details. Yet, it was unmistakable whom she referred to. The remarks were steeped in ambiguous compassion and enigmatic interpretations. "I truly feel for you, my friend. You are worthy of tranquility. You truly gave it your all." There are individuals whose presence can deeply wound us. Family can be a tangled web of emotions. They embrace you with warmth and compassion. That alone would have been devastating. Then arrived the notifications from the group chat, captured moments, messages shared from family members. My aunt gently inquired about my well-being. My mother called her, tears streaming down her face, claimed I had lost control and shattered important legal papers during a moment of overwhelming emotion. Brandon reached out to me personally. "You truly deserve support, my friend. Your actions brought shame to us all. We reached out to bring you in, but it felt uncomfortable and strained. Truly elegant. Will you let me be a part of this?" Indeed, I chose silence. "I have just sent the original documents to my attorney. I requested that he add a timestamp to the email, and I included my assistant in the email." Her response came 5 minutes later. "Would you like me to prioritize the Forbes feature for this weekend? I can reinsert the scanned pages." Indeed, exactly that, because this is the reality we face. There were paths before me. I held the truth in my hands. I held the evidence close to my heart. They carried a narrative within them. Their souls were fragile, yet with each echo of their words, the peril grew ever more intense. My family has a remarkable ability to reshape the past in an instant. This time, I was determined to confront the pain and not allow it to slip away unnoticed. For far too long, I allowed their influence to define my story. Currently, I found myself at the center of my journey. I began by subtly sharing the Forbes link. I did not include any tags or commentary. The article stands alone. The founder, who was often overlooked, quietly supported his family's existence for 10 long years before severing all touch. The documents contained images of the founder. The papers, examined, agreed, outdated. The pieces were the same ones I had torn apart during the reunion. The piece revealed the company's worth, which exceeded $30 million, and the hidden contributions that led back to my door. It spoke of the mortgage payments and the college funds I had quietly established under hidden accounts. It spoke of the tech mentorship grant I initiated 6 months ago for those who have faced abandonment by their families. It touched upon, if only for a moment, the reasons behind my departure. I did not leave with any resentment. I was filled with profound understanding. Messages flooded my inbox in just a matter of hours. There were words of praise, and then came the heartfelt apologies. Subsequently, an overwhelming wave of fear swept through. "Fear swept through," Jessica left a heartfelt voicemail. "What compelled you to share that with everyone? Your actions are deeply wounding us. Brandon's words are truly profound, incredible. Your behavior is truly mature. I hope you find solace in the choices you've made, even if they have cast a shadow on our family's legacy." Then there was my mom. "It's time for an important conversation. Your interpretation of the joke was not quite right. We were simply lost in the moment, embracing the joy of being together." I was lost in the depths of silence. The moment was filled with levity. It was almost ironic, the way they were clinging to their choices. Yet the journey had just begun. The journey had not yet reached its peak. As the narrative unfolded, it began to resonate deeply with many. And the attention I never sought? A light was on the horizon, ready to pierce through the shadows. A YouTube channel discovered it. Next came a podcast. Next, a poignant documentary unfolds. Messages poured in. Individuals aligned themselves with different factions. Above all, what is most important? They chose me for their purpose. People can sense the weight of shame when it unfolds before them. This is particularly true when the shame is concealed behind a smile and masquerades as familial bonds. Brandon attempted to respond with fervor in the digital realm. I expressed my struggles with stability in a heartfelt manner. I asserted that I was embellishing the truth. A response came through, accompanied by a screenshot of the contract I had crafted for him. The contract was clearly marked with intention. These are moments. Someone discovered an old tweet in which Jessica humorously referred to herself as the golden child. It's not amusing anymore. A tech influencer, someone I had never heard of before, shared the Forbes article along with a poignant caption. May these words serve as a poignant reminder: not every outcast is without purpose. Some have reached their limit with the facade of comfort that hides deeper truths. They believed they could tarnish my spirit, undermine my worth, attribute the issue to me. Instead, they found themselves laid bare. However, I stayed silent, firmly embracing my truth. There was never a moment when I did not speak. I chose not to respond. I possessed a response that transcended mere words. I held the evidence in my hands. And now I found myself under the gaze of the entire world. You might assume that following the article, the messages, and the public disintegration of their beloved narrative, they would step back. They chose not to. Instead, they intensified their resolve. Brandon shared an extensive thread suggesting that I was amplifying my feelings for attention. He claimed that I had a tendency to be overly emotional. I often felt like the outsider despite their sincere efforts to include me. Jessica began the difficult process of mending relationships with her extended family. She revealed to them that I was struggling. The wealth had clouded my judgment. I severed connections, not over a mere t-shirt, but because deep down I was constantly searching for an excuse to walk away. The same was true for my family. They remained silent in the open. I can still feel their voices echoing in the distance. They appear to be misinterpreting the situation. The situation was heart-wrenching. He misinterpreted everything. I observed their struggle to piece together their narrative once more. Yet this time it felt like it was slipping away. Could they attribute it to the souls they were connecting with? Many of them had already extended their hands toward me, softly. A cousin who observed the subtle ways in which I was treated with a different kind of attention. A past neighbor recalled the moment my mom referred to me as a late bloomer, all while proudly sharing Brandon's internship at a company in which I now held equity. The moment that struck deepest wasn't their twist. It was the moment I understood how much time I had wasted yearning for their transformation. I was blind to the abundance surrounding me. I had moved beyond the days of seeking acceptance, no longer the child yearning for a place among them. I finally claimed my space. What was the stillness that enveloped me after that realization? For the first time in what felt like an eternity, a sense of tranquility washed over me. A letter arrived, carrying with it the weight of unspoken words and lingering pain. It lacked the weight of remorse. No, not at all. We want you to know that our bond remains strong, filled with love, and we truly hope you can find a way to heal from this pain. Let go and find your way forward. It felt like a fleeting moment. It felt as though I was overwhelmed by a wave of hurt, prompting me to leave in a rush, only to return when the storm within me had settled. I chose silence. A week later, another message arrived, stirring the depths of my heart once more. This one was more extensive. My reflections have become deeper and more poignant. During my formative years, I contemplated the sacrifices and gestures made on my behalf. It is food that nourishes the soul. It was journeys. It is a sanctuary that envelops me in its embrace. It feels as though it has the power to erase all the pain. They never spoke of the money. They never mentioned the countless moments of laughter that concealed the pain. Observe how quickly they turned against me as soon as I asserted my position. Suddenly, without warning, Brandon shared a vintage photo of us. The photo was from our childhood days. I captioned it, "I long for my brother." My heart still holds a deep affection for him. I will forever carry his memory in my heart. I received a tag. So much, there was a deep yearning for a reply. Yet the only souls I felt indebted to were those who stood by me in my darkest moments, when I had nothing whatsoever. None of those individuals wore coordinated t-shirts. I chose to remain silent. And in that stillness, everything began to transform. Jessica's husband walked away, leaving a void that echoed with her pain. She had been deeply invested in the narrative of being victims of cancel culture, but he refused to accept that perspective. He took the children away. He found solace in the embrace of his sister's home. I learned the truth through another's words. It wasn't Jessica who shared the news with me. Brandon faced the disappointment of losing a speaking engagement at a modest event he had secured for himself. It appears that the organizer received the complete article from someone. In an old podcast, he shared a poignant remark about his brother's struggle to complete anything he began. And my parents embarked on a journey to refinance their home. Their refinancing application was denied. A friend of mine who works in finance shared that the bank is experiencing turmoil. It wasn't my choice. I did not make this decision in a straightforward manner, but I put an end to the monthly transfer. I take full responsibility for that part. I began to embrace my journey. I was no longer motivated by a desire for retribution. At last, I can embrace the freedom within. I journeyed through the world, leaving behind the constant pull of my phone, embracing the freedom of the moment. I acted without considering whether it would bring them the pride I longed for. I created it out of a deep desire within me, not to seek validation or approval from others. One fateful night, not long after, a message arrived from an unfamiliar source. The message consisted of only one line. Thank you for demonstrating to those of us who have felt the weight of our struggles that it's perfectly acceptable to let go and seek our peace. That one truly touched my heart. The gesture was not due to a desire for approval. Yet it served as a poignant reminder that choosing to walk away was not an act of selfishness. It was essential. It required endurance, not resentment. I never felt anger over their inability to love me as I had hoped. My heart ached with fury as they feigned support, all the while tearing me down whenever I dared to rise a little higher. That night, I unearthed a box that had slipped from my memory. It contained replicas of the original documents. I shattered the original documents. I gently traced my fingers across the surface of the paper. Dense. The texture was soft and delicate, resembling a whisper of light. The seams, where I had torn apart the initial pieces, were still jagged. It felt like a release from the weight of sorrow. It felt like a bittersweet ending, a moment of release. I find myself lost in the uncertainty of their absence. I choose not to look. There are moments when I receive updates from others, yet I find myself unable to continue reading, choosing instead to erase them before the end. I choose to remain in the shadows of uncertainty. It's not that I don't care about them, yet the part of me that sought their validation has long since departed. He has left this world. He has permanently departed. 2 years have passed since his departure. Time has passed. Recently, I received an invitation to a wedding, not kin. I was among the rare souls who witnessed the depths of despair and chose to remain steadfast. I met a cousin at the reception, a moment laden with untold stories. With a warm smile, she reached out to shake my hand and asked, "Hold on, are you the one known for the t-shirts?" I couldn't help but laugh. I found myself genuinely laughing. Indeed, I expressed, I suppose that's who I am. She revealed to me that she severed ties with her parents last year. She told me that my journey provided her with the motivation she was searching for. Words escaped me in that moment. I still find it difficult to understand, yet it lingered in my heart. For an eternity, I believed that stepping away equated to a profound sense of loss. Letting go was no longer loss, it was liberation. It was a moment that marked a profound shift within me, a rare instance where I finally found the courage to advocate for my worth. At times, I find myself pondering whether my name lingers in their conversations. I wonder if they have a fresh perspective on the story now. I wonder if they long for my presence or simply yearn for the version of me they can manipulate. I hold back from connecting, and they have not either. It has been ages. Perhaps that encapsulates it all. Do you think I've gone too far, or did I not come close enough? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you seek more narratives that resonate deeply, consider subscribing.